Well, hello and welcome to Qlik Spotlight. My name is John Sands. We're in the wonderful surroundings of Connections, and I have the very great pleasure of introducing a friend and colleague, Vinay. Welcome to Qlik Spotlight, Vinay.
Hello, John. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we're going to be talking a bit around corporate responsibility and your experiences, because you've got a very wide-ranging experience around that, and it'd be interesting just to dig a bit deeper into that. So first of all, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Vinay Kapoor. I'm a senior product manager at Qlik. I've been with Qlik for about 7 years now. Joined the company when it was a little over 800 people. Been an interesting journey. I was born and I grew up in India. Father was in the Indian Air Force, which meant we moved every 5 years. Pretty used to that. Moved to Finland, then Sweden. So it's been an interesting journey. I was actually trained as an engineer, started as a software engineer, and then worked through many different roles, sales, architecture, and now in product management.
So your experience in India is, I mean, I've been to India quite a lot, and it's a beautiful, beautiful country, but it does have its extremes, doesn't it, of poverty,
right?
And a lot more wealth now. It's a growing country. But when you were growing up, did you experience anything around deprivation or that side of things at all?
Yeah, so growing up in India is always interesting. You're never far from the contrasts in India. When I was growing up, our family was, well, not rich, but we were comfortable. We were a typical middle-class family. But at the same time, this is India, so we had full exposure to the kind of problems that you would see in any country today, which is fighting, let's say, climate change. So, like we had times when we had no power for 8 hours. We had no water for 2-3 days because something happened. So it was definitely interesting, and you see the contrast everywhere, which teaches you a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, and my experience is the same. And I know the water quality is an issue, isn't it, with India? So do you do some work within Qlik on that, on creating an app around water quality? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I was deeply involved with a CSR initiative around the Circle of Blue, where I helped develop an app that was used for a significant amount of conversation around the water issue. And the reason why I was involved with that is because at the time our CTO, Anthony Dayton, asked for people who would, be willing to work with that. Now, growing up in India, that was an issue that was very close to me, because when I was a kid, we would sometimes lose water for like 2 to 3 days.
Oh, really?
And my dad and we had to trek like 2-3 hours my dad would carry 2 20-liter buckets of water. I would carry 2 15-liters. This is when I was a teenager. So we were very aware of the scarcity of water and the problems it brings. And when Qlik was looking for someone to speak to that issue and help with that, I felt a personal connection. So I was one of the first people to raise my hand. And it was a very, very interesting project. I learned a lot from that.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the project and what was?
So what we essentially did was we sourced data from many different places, including governments or any third parties that would give us access to data on things like the depth of water wells in let's say, in California, or what is the quality of water, how is water used in certain regions. And we put that together in a dashboard that was used by Circle of Blue, which was then published on their website as a mashup that they used to spark a conversation around water issues. It was very, very successful. The demo team was deeply involved with this as well with me. They built out the dashboard, and we worked together as a team, both inside Qlik and outside of it, to ensure that both the quality of the dashboard was high, but at the same time it spoke to the issues that Circle of Blue wanted to speak to.
Yeah, and water is a very important. When you say 2 to 3 days without water and having to do that, and it's incredible. But then you went from, as you said previously, from India to Finland, and a complete contrast. You probably couldn't find any difference, but more of a difference between those two countries. And that must have been a bit of a shock for you, going from India to that, and maybe even a little uncomfortable because you're not used to it. So is that the case?
It was very interesting. So I actually I landed in Finland on 2nd of February, and I boarded a flight from Chennai because we were there for a wedding in the south of India, where the temperature I think on that day was plus 40 Celsius. And when I got off the plane after 12 hours in Helsinki at the Vantaa airport, it was minus 40. So it was quite a contrast. And I couldn't sleep the first 2 nights because it was so quiet. So I was not used to it. So it was a very interesting transition, but both, excuse me, my wife and I, we found it invigorating because it was such a big change. We embraced the change, we liked it, and we found ways to have fun and to learn from that. So it was definitely a contrast, but I would say a good contrast.
So you moved from Finland to Sweden then? Is that right?
Yeah. So we lived in Finland for a year in Espoo, and then we moved to Sweden, to Malmö.
Yeah, and Sweden, one of the most, I mean, this is an amazing fact I learned about Sweden, is that actually they import rubbish.
That's right.
Into Sweden because they burn it to make energy, so they're actually bringing, and they're sort of 99% recycling they do, and it's an amazing.
Yeah. A majority of the first of all, as a country, Sweden doesn't produce a lot of garbage, a lot of trash, and whatever is produced is used
recycle so much of it.
Right, it's recycled, and then a lot of what is produced is actually sent to incinerators to produce energy, and those incinerators, people don't produce enough trash, so that's a problem. So there's trash imported from across the border.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So when I first met you, you were in Sweden, weren't you? So out of the Lund office, and then your journey just continues because then you moved out to the US. So what made you do that? Were you getting itchy feet again because you've been in a country for too long?
Pretty much. So my wife and I, we've worked together in 7 or 8 different countries. While we were living in Sweden before I joined Qlik, we lived and worked in France, we lived in Korea, lived in Canada for a while. So we like to travel and try different countries and different cultures. We really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So when I was given the opportunity to move to the US, we our kids were at the age where we could make a move, and that would probably be like the last move for 10 or 12 years.
How old are your children then?
My children are now 8 and 12, 2 boys, and at the time they were 8 and 4. When we were given the opportunity, when we moved, they were a little older than that. So it was the perfect age, that we could move. So we felt let's do it, and we were excited by it.
Do you think you are settled in the US now, or do you reckon you get itchy feet?
I believe we feel settled. I mean, it's always a journey. It's been a couple of years, so we've got the basics nailed down. Kids like their schools. We both love our jobs. We love the commute. We have a reasonable social circle, so we feel settled down. But it's always one of those things that it takes longer than you expect. But it's been
building that social circle, it does, doesn't it? Because you think you just come in to make friends, but it's and I know in America they speak the same language, but there's still those barriers in there when you do that.
Yeah, and also when your children are smaller, typically you make friends through them, right? And so when you move to a country when they're a certain age, that of course becomes a little bit harder. But it's also something that's very important to feeling a part of a community. You need to make friends, you need to socialize with people. So we've tried to find every opportunity we can. Our kids are in activities, and I'm always the first person to go and say hello to people, to the point, that some of them will actually say hello back to me, and then, that's the starting of a friendship. There you go. But it's something that we feel comfortable with, and we've made a reasonable social circle at this point. Yeah.
So we're at Connections at the moment. We're not a beautiful sunny day for the first time. It's not been raining.
That's right.
So you've been involved in the project around Qlik Core. So explain a little bit around that and what's gone on in the background with Jimmy Gull and his bike and all that kind of
Yes, I was part of coordinating the main stage demos, and part of that was Qlik Core. There's a lot of people who worked on that, so I was just a small part of it. People like Anthony, the whole hackathon team around that, Todd Margolis, Joe Bickley, Magnus Håkansson. I mean, there's so many people, it's hard to. So it's been a team effort, and I'm a very small part of it. The demo it started as an idea that we should do something that really speaks to the power of the engine, being able to deploy that in a really small package, and how it can power real-time analytics, talk about edge computing. And we realized that, the best way to do that was to put Jimmy on a bike.
And why wouldn't you do that? And he's quite happy to get on a bike.
And he was quite happy to do that. And fun fact, he, during our practice, which we did yesterday and day before yesterday, we needed him on the bike for like a couple of minutes just to test things out. He was on the bike on the first day for 30 minutes and then yesterday for 90 minutes. So, yeah.
We raised some good money on that as well, haven't we? So
so as of now, we've raised already $7,000.
Oh, fantastic.
Right, because people on the Information Expo are also biking to raise more money. Every mile they bike, we donate $50 to VC Hope. So I think we have a target of 10,000. I have a feeling we'll beat that. by the end of tomorrow.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. And We See Hope are another one of those charities that we have been involved with for years, haven't we? And it's a fantastic cause. To do that. We See Hope and MedAir are two that I do. So our corporate responsibility program is incredibly important, and Julie Whipple does a great job on that. And it's so good that we, as a company, and I know Mike Capone is very heavily behind doing this, so it's good that we make a difference on that. And the circle of blue that you were talking about is another one of those projects that we've done that have become very important. Okay, so we're going to find out about the real Vinay Kapoor. So I know you're a little bit frightened about this. We've had conversations about it, but I think we'll be fine. Okay, so seaside or countryside?
Seaside.
Seaside.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I grew up locked inside land. And the first time
that would have been uncomfortable being locked inside land. I wouldn't like that.
Well, locked in. Well, his, English not being my native language, but locked in. And the first time that I actually lived close to the ocean was in Malmo, and we loved it. We loved it. So we used to go down to the beach every other day, and we just fell in love with the ocean. So,
so is that where you go on holiday to? Where you live in Boston?
Yeah, outside Boston, in a city called Lexington. That's right.
Yeah. So where would you go then to see the ocean?
Well, the Boston is on the coast, and both south of Boston and north of Boston, there are really nice beaches and the ocean. Caribbean is a favorite place. We've been to the Bahamas, been to Cancun a couple of times. That's fun. We are planning another trip this year, so definitely lots of opportunities to go. Find out.
And Cancun was one of our summits as well, wasn't it? So
two of them. Two summits.
Good times in there.
Yep.
I have magical powers.
Okay.
And I can give you a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have any superpower, what would that be?
Any superpower.
Any superpower.
That's a difficult one.
You can only have one.
Mm-hmm. Is time travel a superpower?
I suppose it is if you want it to be, yes.
Yeah, definitely time travel.
Excellent.
Time travel.
Where would you go to then? What part of history would you love to revisit?
So I would actually like to go forward, not back. I wouldn't go back to history. I would like to go to the future and see, what's happening. How did we as a society, where did we land? And, 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, 200 years from now, where does this journey lead? I'm not the type of person who would actually look back. But if the only option was to go back to history.
No, I think you can go backwards and forwards, so you're fine.
Yeah,
fine
so yeah.
Future, and you missed out the most important reason for time travel going forward, and that's getting the lottery numbers.
That too, yeah.
Yes.
For sure, yeah.
So, society is fine, lottery numbers more important. So, music, what do you listen to? What's your...
all sorts. So, I am not the type of person who has like a very narrow taste in music. I listen to everything. But my taste in music is very use case based, if I may use that word. Like if I'm studying, one thing I'm doing is I'm studying on the side because I have so much free time. Yes, but when I'm studying, I like to listen to Western classical. I like to listen to, lately I've been listening a lot to Avicii because of, the tragic death of the artist. Yeah. He was a pioneer in EDM, that genre of music. He also did a lot around collaboration in music that, is very unique. He collaborated with a lot of artists like Madonna to create new genres, a new genre of music. Yeah. I listen to everything from classic rock to the latest hits. I'm not afraid to...
You're not afraid to
turn on the radio to the top hits and just...
Even Western music?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I primarily listen to Western music.
You do?
Yeah,
okay, excellent. Right, 2018, we're kind of nearly in May now, aren't we? Here at Connections. Almost, it's fabulous. What plans do you have for the rest of the year, Qlik or personal?
So, there's a lot going on. I think on the Qlik side, a few things. Really want to make sure we get the insight experience out the door in a good way. I think that's key. The work that we are doing with hybrid, I'm involved with the hub. Whatever we can do to make sure that's a great experience, that's key. Looking forward to that and, feeling great on both sides. I think we are working with some great teams. I feel sort of, the person who has to do the least because I'm working with such talented people, both in Sweden and Ottawa. So that's great. Also, some of the work that we are doing with CSR, I think, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
On the personal side, there's a couple of things. I'm studying, so I want to make sure,
What are you studying then?
I'm doing some studies on the side. So I'm studying I'm studying for a strategic management certificate.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm doing marketing management and corporate strategy right now. I'll do a couple of courses during the autumn. So I want to make sure I get grades, that are reasonable. So I can call my mom and tell her that, I didn't completely fail.
Yeah.
And then also, on the family front, just make sure that, everything's going well. We are settled in. The kids have what they need.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Vinay, it's been, as always, having chats with you is always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been good, and that's the whole idea. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.